Welcome to Picks with the Professor, the podcast where a real statistics professor
and his cousin
and his friend Jake
give you sports betting tips. I'm Professor Sides. You can follow me and find all of my picks on Twitter at Professor Sides. You can follow my cousin Jared on Twitter at Cousin Jared, and you can follow my friend Jake on Twitter at myfriend_Jake. Today is Friday, February 18th, 2022, and this episode covers today's best college basketball bets. In case you're new here, I built a mathematical model that predicts what the spread and total should be for every Division I college basketball game. That information, along with a graded A, B, or C pick for each of today's games not covered in this episode, is available in the Google Sheet linked in the show's description. A picks are the ones I love, B picks are the ones I like, and C picks are the leans. However, please remember that good and bad variance will occur. So as much as I'd like to say the model will be profitable each and every day, that is an impossible reality for any gambler. Yesterday went fairly well. The all picks, if you look at the sheet, were up double-digit units, so that was nice to get those back going in the right direction. My game breakdowns, 4-1. Jake, yours 3-2. A plays still kind of struggling for the week. The A+ play of the day once that was good. My buzzer beaters 1-2. Jake, your buzzer beaters 3-0. Jake, I put you 21-9 on the week.
You know, it's making my wallet happy, and that's what I like. You know.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
and
fun
on the weekends.
Yeah, and I will say my picks yesterday 8-5. 8-5 on the podcast picks. All picks up double digits. But I have two massive complaints about yesterday. There were a lot of games, right? So I'm going to find the two things to complain about. All right, so y'all just bear with me here. Number one,
wait, hold on. I'm new to this college basketball podcast. Y'all go 8-5 and complain. I would have been throwing a party on the football podcast.
Yeah, well, it's the way some of these losses happen. My game breakdowns, I had the under in St. Mary, San Francisco. That game has 20 points in the last 85 seconds to go over by 1 point. You see some late game weirdness, but that one was bad. And then the other one, USC, I had them as an A pick, laying 10.5. They're up 17 with like a little less than a minute to go. And the crazy thing about that, if you stayed up and watched it, if you looked at the box score on it, you could figure this out. There is one way and one way only USC doesn't cover in that spot, given the time left in the score. They have to allow a bucket, not score, allow a bucket, not score, and allow a bucket. All five things have to happen, and one of those three buckets has to be a three. Guess what? 3 brick, 2 brick, 2, and they win by 10. And wow. It's just a horrible bad beat there if you laid the points with us in USC. I'll stop rambling. Jake, what do you have for us from yesterday?
Well, you know, I told you to take Houston -14. Luckily you listened, because they looked like that top 10 team that we saw earlier in the year. Their defense is incredible. Like, it's suffocating. And then UCF just got frustrated and more frustrated, and you saw that with a couple of T's, and like there was a flagrant one, and they just kept building, and Houston just ran away with it. And then UCLA, man, I thought it was going to spell disaster for the pick with when Tiger Campbell got announced that he was suspended, like I think an hour or two before tip, but then they just come out and win by 20 at a decent Washington State team, or against a decent Washington State team, and that I can't figure this UCLA team out. So most of the time, I think they're frauds and just got hot last year. But then games like that make you think otherwise. So it's something to watch out for.
It's the whole Pac-12. Oregon, right, was coming around, and then they weren't, and then they were, and then last night they lost by like 30 as favorites. The whole 12 is using to me at this point. It's reminding me of football, right? Where in football you're just like write them off. You're just like, whatever. I don't even want to deal with this, right? Like, just don't even mess with these teams. Before we get to today's slate, reminder: please like and subscribe, follow and rate. We appreciate any and all of those things. They do help us out greatly. Drop a comment if you're on YouTube. We love those and try to respond to as many as we can. We will start off with some action here. 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central. Ohio at Kent State. I've got this as a wrong team favored game. I think that Ohio should be favored by 1.5, 2 points, somewhere in that ballpark. So I've got a B pick on Ohio +1. I have nothing else really to add here other than I will point out a lot of these situations, if you're debating between a +1 or a money line, a lot of books I've noticed if it's +1, -110, the money line will be -105. Mathematically, I have that the +1 is a better play. If you're comparing to -105, if you can get better than -105, then you want to take the money line. So if you're seeing Ohio +1, or you can get like a -102 on the money line, I think the money line's a slightly better option. So just something to consider there. Otherwise, I have nothing to say at this game other than I think Ohio's the better team. I think they go on the road and win. What do you think, Jake?
Yeah, I'm with you. I think Ohio's the better team. They proved it when they beat Kent State earlier at Ohio, I think, and won by 8. This Ohio team shoots the ball well. They like percentage-wise, it's a little different, but they hit about 9 to 10 threes, and it actually improves on the road a game. So that's a big time when you're talking about such a short line with -1. Having those extra threes in your pocket can really flip that. And they're a good free throw shooting team, hitting almost 75%. And they force 15.5 turnovers on the road. They're also 2-2 against the spread with 2 outright wins. So, I mean, it's hard to say they're really an underdog when it's a 1-point game. It's really just picking who wins. But I really like Marcus Sears. He is a really fantastic player, probably player of the year of the MAC. And if you haven't watched him, you need to watch him, because last time when these two teams lined up, he went for 40 and only hit 1 3. So that means they just could not guard him whatsoever. Yeah. I don't see that changing, because you're not going to take a guy who goes for 40 to down to 10. So he's going to have a game tonight.
So guys, yeah, you know where I'm going here. I'm looking at the total. The model 4-1 on Kent State totals this month. But the problem is the total on this game seems spot on. So I'm going to be watching this line closely. I will take under 136.5 or over 133.5. But as of right now, no play for me here.
All right. Good insight there. At the same time, the other game that you might be interested in keeping an eye on, Richmond at VCU. The model thinks that VCU should be a 3.5 or a 4-point favorite. So I've got a B play on VCU -2.5. I always like to look at how my numbers have fared on teams. It's not so much to say that I think that will continue. It's just trying to see if I have any biases that I have to avoid, I have to be leery of. The reason I say that, there's 360 teams in Division I college basketball. There is no way that anybody's going to come up with a model that does not just miss on a few teams. And so it's just something to keep in mind. I've tried to adjust for that. I've never found a way to overcome it, really to make it better. Every tweak I make to try to, because I could see these misses. Every tweak I do doesn't actually improve anything. So I will just note VCU's actually been 1 point per game better than my numbers. Richmond 1.2 points per game worse. So it's not like I'm missing anything with these two teams. I think VCU is the better team. I think they're at home. I think they win and can cover such a short number. Jake, what do you have?
Yeah, I think VCU is a much better team, and it really starts on the defense with them forcing 15, 16 turnovers a game. So in that range, that's insane. They also limit teams' 3-point percentage to 27.1, ranking 3rd in the nation. And sorry, I misspoke. They forced 19 turnovers a game at home. So that's
even better.
It's a significant difference. And like in the last matchup, they won by 2 on the road, and they held Richmond's best player to 5 points, and they played 34 minutes. So it's not like he got hurt and left or anything. He played most of the whole game, scored 5 points. One of the issues kind of going tonight, the Hanson Ward, the leading shot blocker, is questionable. I don't think he played last game, so that kind of weakens the defense a little bit. But I think with how they pressure defense and force the turnovers and kind of play similar to that Shaka Smart style when he was there, they're going to cover this easy. And they shoot okay from 3 at home. They're up to around 36%. They just don't shoot a lot of them. So I think they cover this fairly easy, probably like under 10, but more than the 3 we need.
All right.
So what do they say? They say, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. VCU has fooled me 4 times this month. The total has not been good on VCU games. The model definitely has an affinity for the under with this team.
It loves that VCU defense for sure.
It loves that VCU defense, and the problem is not only does the model love the VCU defense, but even Jake, looking at it with his eyes and some of the advanced stats there, I mean, VCU's defense is just really, really good. So we're going to go for a fool me 5 times on this one. Official play from me here. I'm taking the under as of this morning, 133.5. And again, I can't feel 100% about it, just the track record this month. But man, again, that VCU defense, when it's on, it's just really tough to get points. So I'll go back to the well here again.
And I'll add one thing here to kind of wrap up the discussion about this game. We had VCU as an A pick earlier in the week, and they got out to a giant lead and then kind of got a little lackadaisical and weren't able to cover. And that was frustrating. This being a smaller number, I think we're at least protected against that on the number side and on the total, because there's a little bit less likelihood that they get up like they did in that game. They got up 13-14 or whatever, and took their foot off the gas, stopped pressuring as much or whatever. Being a tighter game, tighter spread, there's a better likelihood that we don't have to run into that. So I'm hoping both VCU and that under pick can come through for us because of that. And at the same time slot here, that early slot, 6 p.m. Central, we have Missouri at Mississippi State, a game that may not be as interesting to watch, but it does have 2 SEC schools. We could really just stop the breakdown there, right? Not as interesting, but it has 2 SEC schools. That's really all that matters about this one. It probably won't be that interesting. Mississippi State should win. The only question is by how much. The model thinks Mississippi State by 13, so it's a B pick for me, laying 11.5. The model is 5-3 backing Mississippi State this year. It's very up and down on Missouri. Missouri's a team I can't seem to figure out. They kind of zig and zag one way or the other. I'm just trusting the model and saying Mississippi State's a better team, and I'm going to lay the big number. Jake, what do you got?
Yeah, I'm laying this 11.5 also. Mississippi State's great at home. They're 9-4 against the spread, which is a fairly good percentage. They've got the best player on the floor with Iverson Molinar, and Missouri is so dependent upon Kobe Brown. He leads in points, rebounds, steals, and blocks. So he's just everything to them. And I think Mississippi State's defense, especially with their big guys with Garrison Brooks and DJ Jeffries and Tolu Smith, are going to be enough to slow him down, especially around the rim. And it's going to be one shot done, rebound, and go down and hopefully score most of the time. And I think they'll get us closer to 15 than this 12. That's where I'm at with this one.
All right, Cousin Jared.
I am on the over 134.5 here. Mississippi State, more times than not has been on the over during conference play. Missouri, I know you said the model's been up and down on Missouri, but from a totals perspective, it's kind of been, on par. So I feel good about the 134.5 here. It's done pretty well in Mississippi State.
All right. And that takes us to our marquee game of the night. It's a weaker slate here on a Friday.
Are we sure?
I don't know if we have to pick a marquee game. I guess this is the one. I don't really know. We'll roll with it. Whatever, right? 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern. Maryland is a 2.5-point road favorite at Nebraska. 2 teams that had, I think, higher expectations going into the season. I think Maryland was really hoping to make the tournament. I think Nebraska was really hoping to get some momentum and really start making some positive progress here in their program. And that both of those, there you go. And not really come to fruition here. I've got a B pick on Maryland -2.5. The model thinks it should be 4. Nebraska's been a great team to fade for the most part this year. I don't really see any reason to stop. What I will point out is that at 1.5 last night, if you saw this when I posted the sheet, you would have been able to lock in an A pick on Maryland. As it is, we're locking in picks for the games talked about this morning so that the content is fresh for you. So at 2.5, it is officially a B pick for me. I've only backed Maryland once this year. That was a win. I'm hoping to make that 2. Jake, what do you have?
Yeah, I like this Maryland team. This game is just, I don't know. Go eat dinner with your family. Do something. Don't watch this. This is bad.
I will.
These 2 teams are 1-9 combined in their last 10, and the one win was Nebraska beating Minnesota. So it's not like these teams are anything special. Ayala is questionable tonight, which is the leading scorer for Maryland. But even if he doesn't play, I think Fats Russell is enough to cover this. And I think Dante Scott will step up and make some plays. This Maryland team's got some surprising wins. If you go back and look at their schedule, they beat Illinois. They won at Rutgers, which is extremely hard to do. And they beat Florida at a neutral site. So those are some good wins. They can really show up to play in some of those games. And I think they do enough to get it tonight. I think it'll be kind of a tighter game because Nebraska plays okay at home and falls apart late. But I think Maryland's the play, and I think Fats Russell does all he can and gets us covered.
So I know that y'all are expecting me to come off the top rope with a total play here. I'm going to pull a fast one on you. So I'm not going to pretend like I watch nearly as much college basketball as the 2 of you do, but I know 2 things. Number 1, Nebraska ain't very good. And number 2, Maryland, as Jake just alluded to, they have some wins that you probably wouldn't expect this team to have, and they've been in some other games that they probably shouldn't have been in. They seem to give pretty good effort. So to me, if Maryland comes out and gives that type of effort and plays like they can against this team, I think they're going to win by 9 or 10 points. So I'm actually going to lay the 2.5 here as well with Maryland. The other thing is, like the professor mentioned, look at that sheet when he posted it the night before, because you could have locked in that 1.5, which is, a big difference. It may not seem like it, compared to just 2.5. So again, I like Maryland here. I'm going to lay the 2.5 points.
Yeah, but about a 4-ish% difference there between 1.5 and 2.5. Right, not all numbers are created equally in college basketball. They're a lot closer than football, of course, but that's a solid differential. Yeah, Maryland winning at Rutgers. Given how Rutgers has played at home in the back half of this Big Ten slate, seems like you literally made that up. I almost don't believe that. Like, unless someone has to show me the tape of that one to prove it actually happened. And that'll take us to our Talk Me Out of segment. We seem to have lost Jake there for a second. We'll bring him back on here. Flip everybody around there. Visual difficulties there if you're with us on YouTube. There we go. We got our Talk Me Out of segment here. The early game, 5 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Central. The model thinks that St. John's should only be an 8-point favorite, and so the model would say to take Butler plus 8.5 for our early Friday late afternoon game. Jake, talk me out of Butler plus 8.5.
This is one of those teams that the metrics don't exactly line up because of how St. John's plays. Right? They don't break 100 in any metric and can be a little sloppy at times at 12%, but they play at such a pace that the 12 turnovers actually turns out to be 16% turnover rate. So that's really not that bad compared to where everybody is in the nation. And their defense is really underrated. They've got 2 great guards that play incredible defense with Posh Alexander and Julian Champagnie, and they force about 16.5 turnovers a game. So that 4 to 5 turnover difference really makes a big deal. And with Posh Alexander, he was questionable last game and playing, and so hopefully that means he's a lot closer to 100% for this game. When him and Champagnie are going, they are really, really hard to stop because Julian Champagnie is one of my favorite players to watch play. He's just incredible. I think he scores close to 20, leads the team in rebounds also as a guard, and he shoots the ball very well. And it's not like he wasn't known coming into the season. Everybody game plans for him. He's the guy they game plan for, and they still can't stop him. And Posh Alexander was disappointing early this year, but he's figured it out, now leading the team in assists, and just kept going. And they beat Butler last time, and they hit 2 threes. With them averaging close to 8 a game and hitting 2 of 16 on the last game, I think they easily beat and covered this spread. Butler boasts the 277th ranked offensive efficiency, and they turn the ball over almost 1 out of every 5 times. And their 2 leading scorers are questionable for tonight and didn't play in the last game. So even if they do play, I don't think they're anywhere near 100%. And drop this game by handedly.
All right, Jared, what is your take on this? Should I trust the model and take the 8.5, or should I trust Jake, who's been mostly on fire in these segments, and lay it with St. John's?
So you're my cousin. I love you, but I also love winners, and Jake's been a winner recently.
Yes.
Definitely going to go with Jake on this one. The only other thing I would add here, you know me, I love to get these total plays here. But to bring back a college football bit, I'm this close to being done with Butler totals. 0-4 so far this month on Butler totals. So I'm giving this a wide berth. At this number, it would usually be close to an underplay for me, but again, I'm giving this one a wide berth. I don't trust it.
Interesting. Wow. I think I'm actually going with the under on this one. I like what Jake said. I just don't love the number is my problem here. I think that St. John's gets it done. I think, like you said, I think it's a tougher matchup. Champagnie is obviously a lot of fun to watch. This feels like a game. We've had a couple of these lately here where it's going to come down to the end, and it's going to be an 8-point game or a 9-point game or a 10-point game, and then we're seeing who does something stupid with a foul shot. So I don't trust Butler. I don't trust St. John's either. I'm actually going to go with that under. I'm going to trust that works. I'm going to go under 141.5 is the official number here. We're going to double fool me 5 times, right? We're going to see if I'm going to try one of those 2 and if that works. So my official play, I'm actually going to go the under on this segment just because I just don't like the number personally. Obviously, it's one to track throughout the day and see where the number goes. And that will take us into our buzzer beater segments. I have no official A plays today, short slate. So buzzer beaters, best B side, 13-9 all time. I've got Fairfield to win against St. Peter's. This will be ugly. It'll be low scoring. Teams are pretty even, so take the home team here. I think Fairfield gets it done. The total of the day, 4-1 since its return. I've got Columbia at Harvard over 143.5. Columbia has a very bad defense. They play at a very fast tempo. That means lots of points. And those are the only two I've got. Jake, what do you have for us on buzzer beaters?
Yeah, with this week Friday slate and no fun basketball having, I've only got one. I got Cornell +1. I see this is the wrong team favored kind of game. They won the last matchup by 8. Dartmouth is at the bottom of the Ivy League, and Cornell's towards the top. That's all you really need to know.
Yep, and I'll before we get to yours, Jared, I will co-sign on that one. That line makes no sense. What are we doing here with this line? Like Cornell should be -2, -3, something like that, and I'd look at it and say, okay, that seems right. That line makes absolutely no sense to me. Cousin Jared, what do you have for some buzzer beaters?
So I've got 4 buzzer beaters. So clearly, I don't know what I'm talking about. Y'all are just talking about how this is a short night. I've got a bunch of ones for you. So I'm going to be the third person to co-sign on that Cornell line. Again, my favorite situation, wrong team favored. Always got to capitalize on that. Let's go with Ryder at Monmouth under 136.5. Northern Kentucky at Detroit. This is what I'm going to call the toss-up special. UConn didn't get us to the window last time, but here the model says this should be a pick'em. Let's take Northern Kentucky money line +105 right now, and maybe my favorite bet on the board tonight, Cleveland State at Milwaukee under 139. Right now, almost even odds on those on that under 139. The model has done terribly on Milwaukee. It's loved to play the Milwaukee over, and guys, Milwaukee has not been able to score at all. The model says take the under. I am jumping on that because that is a rarity. So again, Cleveland State at Milwaukee under 139, maybe my favorite bet on the board tonight.
All right, yeah. When you were explaining that, I was like, yeah, that seems like something you run to the window for, right? To use the old phrase. No one goes to a window anymore, right? Everyone does it on their phone, but euphemistically, right? And that's all we've got for you today. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Picks with the Professor. A reminder, check out that Google Sheet for all picks and totals on today's games not covered this episode. If you haven't done so yet, click that subscribe button. We'll get you a new episode every weekday of the college basketball season and a live Q&A episode on Saturday. That's tomorrow morning. 9 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Central on YouTube. We will see you then. Until then, remember, you can eat your betting money, but please don't bet your eating money.